Welcome to Leadership DNA, a podcast for those who aspire to be a better leader. Alongside Arturo Gomez, I'm Rob Cressy. Today's topic, advancing self-care. Arturo, what is advancing self-care?
Well, I think it's falling deeper in love with yourself and making sure that you're doing the little things that you certainly would do for any person that you have that you hold in extreme high regard and that you love.
I love that. And I really enjoy the way that you framed that because sometimes we care for others more than we do for ourselves. And that's a good trait, but at the same time, to be a great leader, you also need to take care of number one. Side note, go back to one of the previous episodes that we did about taking care of number one. So let's now get to why is this important? Why is it important that we advance our own self-care?
It's the idea of self-care. I've seen it as a theme and as an anthem, certainly for 2021. I think that there's a lot of people that this is really, really top of mind, and it's been something I've been reading about and consistently kind of challenging myself with over the last couple of years, because it really has. I think it's become a more prevalent concept, certainly in the last couple of years. But you know without having yourself fundamentally rooted in, and again, with a strong emotional state, I don't think that you have the wherewithal to really provide yourself with personal leadership, personal guidance, and you certainly are not going to be of huge, tremendous value to others if you really can't establish this care and this attention and this love for number one, and that's that being you. And so I think for me, 2021 is the year that I and that others should either you fall in love with yourself again, you fall in love with yourself for the first time, or you figure out how to maintain and keep that consistent love with yourself throughout the year. And hopefully this is a springboard and a catapult for the future and for subsequent years, because it's critically important. And I'm not talking about a narcissistic concept or a conceited view. I'm talking about somebody who gives themselves little pieces of, write yourself a love note, do things that you would do for somebody that you are badly in love with, and treat yourself right.
It's almost like turning yourself into your own client. What would you do if all of a sudden you're like, hey, what's up? I'm Rob, and this is my client, Rob. Let's go ahead and do something. And this reminds me of something, and I've mentioned this on the show before. When I meditate, and the very first thing that I say to myself is, I'm doing this for myself, and I'm doing this for others. So by doing it for myself, I can show up better for others. And as a leader, that is oh so important. So Arturo, now let's get to the how you can do it. And I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to share a ton of ideas for how you can advance your self-care based on both what Arturo and I have done for ourselves and that we know work. So Arturo, do you want to throw a few out on your end that you do to advance your self-care?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that I would have people look at it is mind and body. How do you provide yourself with this nourishment, this love, this care, and treat it both, again, from a spiritual standpoint, but also from a physical standpoint. And when you dissect it like that, or allow it to diverge, there's a lot to talk about. You can talk about the emotional and the spiritual things that you should be doing. You should be, we can go through a long list of ideas, but some of the stuff that I'm purposely really driving for myself is meditation. Obviously, you and I talk about meditation quite a bit because it's something we both love, and we believe in it. Sleep. I have been somebody that I would say over the last 22 years of my entrepreneurial career, I've been somebody that sleep was never really something that I cared about. I cared deeply about getting a good amount of sleep now, and so that's one thing. I think physical exercise is something that I have a cadence and a strong belief in. And that could be, one of the things I want to make sure that people understand is that when we talk about this particular episode and these things that you can do for yourself, they can be as small and minor as, something that it doesn't need to be in a large scale. It doesn't need to be supersized. You can do things for yourself that are small acknowledgments of caring and love. And so, but the list is quite long, and I think that there's some things that I know that you wanted to talk about in terms of this list, but it really can be small, or big in terms of the way that you identify it.
So let's talk about fitness for a second, because I know it's an area that is top of mind for everyone. And so often as high performers, we have a high standard for what fitness means to us. But when I look into my mindset, I like to simplify things as small as possible. And I'm actually going to use today as a great example. So yesterday I ran 5.5 miles, gorgeous day. It was good. And today I woke up and my day was a little upside down and I didn't get the opportunity to go and work out today. But you know what I did get the opportunity to do? Drop down and do 26 push-ups. And why did I do that? Because it's more about the mindset than anything, because I don't believe in 0 days where I'm not going to do anything. When I know, all right, I'm not going to the gym today, or I'm not going to make it for a run, I say, all right, what is one thing that I can do to still satisfy that need that I did something physical for myself? And one thing that I've learned that I've done for the longest time to make this even simpler, how in the world do you do 26 push-ups? So I created a thing called naked push-ups. And what is this? Before you shower. So we all turn it on and it takes 15 seconds, 30 seconds for it to get warm. You just drop down and you do naked push-ups. Do as many as you can. And there's several reasons for this. One, we all have the time. And I don't care if you do 3 push-ups or you do 100 push-ups. Number 2, you do feel kind of jacked when you're done. So if you drop down and you see how many that you can do, you get into the shower and you're like, well, I'm kind of feeling kind of good right now. And number 3, it's actually all about the mindset of it. So often in fitness, I've found it is, sure, I love to look good and there are benefits of it, but I love what it does for my mind, because I no longer have to think about, oh, did I do anything today? Because boom, I checked that off. And then all of a sudden that breeds confidence. And now the rest of your day, you're like, you know what? This wasn't a 0 day. I actually did something. And you can really work on that self-love. And we talked about this in our past episode, where fitness to me can be an element of self-love. And a way that you can love yourself is by doing less, and just by doing something instead of 0 will make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the level of, or just this feeling of, again, we tend to look at things, accomplishments, in supersized kind of segments, right? And that's why many of us have these lofty goals and these resolutions at the very beginning of the year, and difficult, sometimes difficult to maintain, because we're putting ourselves through this pressurized environment that that inevitably we're human, and there's going to be days we miss, and what we have to understand is that progress can be measured in many different ways. And so as long as you're making a commitment to continue to improve yourself from a physical standpoint and a spiritual standpoint, you're going to really get to the place where you want to be. And so 26 push-ups is better than 0, and a 20-minute walk is better than 0. And and so everything doesn't need to be so mentally straining and significant in from an outside perspective to be something that shows progress. It also shows consistency, and we've talked about what consistency means. And so if you're committed to this idea of better in your physical or your mental state, there's certain things that you should do with consistency.
Yeah. And if someone says, Rob and Arturo, I don't have the time to drop down and do 11 push-ups, Well, that's just a lie, because then your priorities are out of whack, because we all have the time to do 30 seconds. It's now about the intention of saying, oh, I realize I need to do this. And here's something that I want to share in terms of this is what do you do first thing in the morning? And I think this is going to be one of the biggest game changers around advancing self-care, because so often what stops us from advancing self-care is allowing the world to dictate how our day starts. And for me, I believe this is probably the number one most important thing. If you said to yourself in 2021, when do I start working on myself? And I know a lot of people wake up, hit snooze, check their email, jump on social media. Immediately, the world is running their day. But imagine if you just said, I'm waking up to do 10 push-ups. That's it. Or I'm going to meditate for 3 minutes. So I ask yourself, when do you start investing in your self-care? At what point during the day? Because I can tell you from experience, from the second you wake up, every second moving forward is less of an opportunity for you to do it, because there's more reasons not to do it. So Arturo, I'm curious to hear from you in terms of starting your self-care and how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for me every day. You know, that what I try to do is I have a schedule for the week in terms of what days I'm going to do physical exercise, and it really lines up where it's basically the idea is that it's 7 days a week, but I'm doing a couple of days where I'm doing a yoga practice. It's not too rigorous. It's actually way more relaxing than anything else. It's just basically a stretch. But I actually, when I get up in the morning, I go straight to, I have a Soda Stream, which, by the way, I'm not plugging Soda Stream, but I think it's amazing if you like carbonated water. So I have a couple liters always in the fridge, and in the morning I become a very big proponent of getting enough water, because one, I was not doing that in the past, and water is such an important part of the biology and the metabolism of our body. So I go right in the morning as soon as I wake up, whether it's at 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, whatever it is time that I get up. It's early, it's significantly early, and so it automatically brings up my blood pressure, and so I go to the fridge, get that started, and then look at my notes from the previous day. So what I'll try to do is get myself organized so that I can set up my notes the night prior, so I have a little bit of direction as I'm waking up and getting going, and then after about 35 minutes, 45 minutes of getting my day organized, I'll get into my exercise actually.
I love that. And I love how you prioritize it early. And on my end, the very first thing that I do every single morning, and it's been this way for the last 8 years, is work on my personal development. I've read for 30 minutes every single day for 8 years, including on the weekends. And it's very simple. Why in the world do you do it? Because when I audited the success habits of the most successful people, the CEOs I aspired to be like, they said, on average, the average CEO reads 60 books a year. And I was like, shit, I'm reading 0. So it's clearly important. If something is important enough, when is the best time to do it? First thing. Why? Because there's no longer an excuse for why I won't do it. And now, by doing that, I've actually built growth into my life, because every day that I read, I am better than yesterday. So by design, the very first thing that I do every single day makes today better than yesterday. And as a leader, if you can make today better than yesterday, and you rinse and repeat that for 8 years, 10 years, an entire lifetime, what do you think the result is going to be? But if you start your day and let the world dictate what's going to happen, you can go an entire day by saying, wait a second, today actually wasn't as good as yesterday was. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We do not want that. So be intentional about the design of how you do it. You don't need to do what I do. You don't need to do what Arturo does. We are just giving you examples of how we think and operate about being intentional about starting our day. So I just want to reiterate, be intentional on your end. Ask yourself, when do I start investing in my self-care during the day? Am I consistent with it? Because Arturo, from what I hear from you, you're extremely consistent about it, because it's part of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency I think is matured and evolved over the years, certainly. But but it also having consistency for me de-stresses things. I know what to expect. And again, I like being in this state of where there's a good amount of time allocation in the day for myself. And I could probably argue that there's probably not enough time, but when I'm getting exercise in, I'm getting a meditation in, and and like you, I mean, one of the things I love doing is I love reading the paper. I love reading a physical newspaper in the morning. But to me, those are the things. Those are my guilty pleasures. That really, it's actually not even the right word, because I don't feel guilty doing it. I feel actually fantastic. I feel like it's something that's critical part of my emotional stability. And so as we talk about self-care, it doesn't need to be. You don't need to send yourself to a spa. You don't need to go to retreats. You can do things that signify it. To me, it's just about it's a signifying that you are consciously making an effort to actually treat yourself the right way. Treat yourself as you would want to, and this should be one of the additional 10 commandments. Not just treat others as you would treat yourself. Treat yourself as you would treat others. And so, and that can work both ways. You don't want to ever treat yourself badly, so don't treat others badly, right? But if you're treating other people with kindness and with love, then you certainly should redirect that and put that back on your plate too. And so I see so much in the news. I see so much in a lot of the leadership media periodical stuff that I'm reading, and then also in glimpses of social media. There is a real high level of consciousness right now around self-love, and I really hope that our listeners, and I hope that the world at large, I think, would benefit tremendously by giving themselves a little bit more attention and care.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So here's some other things to give as inspiration or ideas. Being intentional about allowing yourself to think, allowing yourself to journal, allowing yourself to actually write on paper. And so often we don't think we have time. But what if you thought about your self-care as an investment? Because guess what? It really is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in your being and how you show up to others and how you be as a leader. And we would never say to yourself, oh, you know what, Arturo? I don't have time to make investments in my life because I'm too busy doing other things. No. So think about, what are some areas that you want to invest in? And I find that thinking, and not just sporadic thinking, but if you can set aside 15 minutes where you say, all I'm doing is thinking. And candidly, I both do this and I struggle at it. I love doing it, but then I'll look back and I'll be like, man, I've gone 3 weeks without having an intentional thinking or brainstorming session. But nonetheless, I'm at least aware of it enough that, boom, I'm going to reactivate that. And what you realize is the absence of the world really allows you to get in tune with yourself and your thoughts. And you get done with that and you're like, whoa, I feel amazing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're never going to feel as amazing as you do when you give yourself some time and attention. I mean, there's really it's kind of this special moment. And again, that's why I kind of started this episode with, if you don't feel like you're madly in love with yourself, and I say that again, I repeat, it's not a narcissistic, conceited kind of concept, but if you don't, then learn how to love yourself and fall back in love with yourself, or fall in love with yourself. It's a necessary piece of evolving yourself to get to a higher level.
And here's another simple one. Ask yourself, what time do you stop looking at your phone? And for me, this is a game changer. And my number was 9 p.m., where when 9 p.m. hit, my phone is done. Because once again, just like in the beginning where you want to control the way that your day starts, you also want to control the way that your day ends. And you need a shut off switch. And as leaders, I know some of the challenges can be we're always on. It's go, go, go. There's so much to do. But once again, sometimes it is the absence of go, go, go that allows you to sleep better and be happier and adding a little bit of stillness in your life. Arturo, I'm curious on your end how you deal with shutting off your day and or turning off your phone.
God, I knew you were going to redirect that towards me. Well, I'm not, I'm still trying to figure that out. I think, here's what I will say though, because, I obviously mentioned that sleep is an important piece, in a traditional normal day, for example, I was in bed by 7:30 yesterday. A normal work week day would be, my phone is off because I'm off. I'm personally, but I that's kind of how I push myself, or I'm able to get up really, really early in the morning. Um, that for me has been a challenge. It's been a challenge, and I think it will continue to be a challenge certainly over the course of this year, because I think it's something that I've identified as an illness, my own personal ailment. Um, but I have gotten better. I know that I've gotten better because I'm getting reports from my phone every week telling me how much time I'm spending on the phone. But I think it's part of it has been, this year has been such a turbulent business year for me, and I've felt that the proximity to phone and contacts and network has been a necessary thing that's there. But I think that there's a lot that people could learn specifically from what you said, and kind of having parameters around how because if not, if you allow yourself to live like that, you are being dictated to by technology. And certainly this has been something that's been top of mind for me, probably for call it the last 5 or 6 years, and it has been a work in progress. So I'm probably not the best person to give feedback on that. I will say though that we all have, and I think you highlighted this, is that we all have our challenges, and we all have these unique things that we need to work on. And so I think as long as there's consciousness, to me, having consciousness around the things that you need to improve or want to improve is a tremendous start. It allows you to, again, and I don't beat myself up about it, but I will very, very quickly, especially towards the end of the day, realize that, what am I doing? Like this, I need to just I've done 12 hours worth of work today. It's enough. So yeah.
Yeah. And as we've said numerous times, neither of us are perfect. These are ideas. These are things that we go through in our everyday life. There's things Arturo does that I don't do, and likewise. And we at least like to bring this top of mind in the name of self-improvement, because it is way better for us to at least be aware of these things and say, you know what? I'm going to work on improving these in my life. Doesn't mean I'm 100% all of the time, but that's way better than the inverse, where this isn't even part of our radar. And the last things that I want to sort of bring up is ask yourself, when do you feel most alive? Are you doing new things? And are you doing things differently? As we look at 2020, so much of it was homogenous. It was like Groundhog Day, day after day of seeing Ned Ryerson over and over and over again. And we get tired of that, and you fall into this rut. And sometimes that sameness can be a bad thing. Well, are you intentional about designing newness into your life? Are you intentional about feeling alive? And if you're like, well, when do I feel alive? Set some time aside and say, what makes me feel most alive? And you're like, wow, it was actually when I was at New Orleans down in Mardi Gras and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter what it is. This is a judgment-free zone. And then start working backwards and saying, what's something that I can do that'll make me feel alive? And maybe the answer is, I'm going to go call my friend that I went on that trip to New Orleans with, and we're going to talk about that. And all of a sudden you're in flow and you're feeling more alive. What we really want to do is give you actionable steps and little prompts for you to say, how can you advance your self-care just by asking yourself simple things that you can do?
Right. It's, I think, you have, I think what we'll do is we're going to need to post a little bit of a list of things that because we haven't really dove into the entire list. And I mean, everybody's list is going to be a little bit different, right? I think the one thing that's occurred from 2020 is that people have perspective, a perspective and a level of consciousness that I did not feel as a society, literally as a planet, that I don't think that we had prior to this. This is a moment that I think is going to be very constructive for us, where we realize that um, there is such importance to our own health, mental and physical, that there's such an importance to the well-being of the planet, that there's such an importance in around the things that I think were never really at the forefront of our thoughts. And moving a mile a minute and having um, the societal beliefs that I think all grown up with. I think this year was a game changer, certainly for me, in terms of making sure that there was enough time and attention, or there will be enough time and attention kind of moving forward, to really give back to myself so that I can be stronger, better version of myself, to do what I can for my family, to do what I can for my businesses, and to do what I can for the community I live in.
Because remember, focus on what you can control. Don't worry about the things that you can't control. So everything that we just talked about here, all of these completely in our control. And let's say 2021 is the exact same as 2020 and we have no idea what in the world is going to go on. Guess what you can control? Your mindset, your personal development, your intention, how you show up for yourself, how you show up for others. These are all invisible things that cost $0. All it takes is you being aware and conscious of them and making it happen. So Arturo, what is your action item or takeaway from this episode?
I would say that I want people to actually write down some things, some small things that they can do to really kind of show that they have an interest in progressing this concept of self-love. And again, be mindful that doesn't mean that you need to run 5-10 miles a day or even a week. It's small things that will show intent is a major component of this. And so I think just writing down some, and these don't need to be dramatic New Year's resolutions, just small little things that will contribute to a better acknowledgement that you really care about yourself mentally and physically.
And on my end, my action item is both simple and fun. I want you to do something new this week, and bonus points for doing it today. What in the world does new mean? Well, you know what? You can go to a restaurant and try something you've never done before. You can walk around the block and take a different route. I find that when you add newness to your life, so many good things happen because newness becomes contagious. Now you walk around the world being like, what's something new that I can do? And for me, that advances your own self-care. So Arturo, where can everybody connect with you?
Best place is going to be LinkedIn, Arturo Gomez.
And on my end, you can hit me up on all social media platforms at Rob Cressy, especially LinkedIn and Instagram. And Arturo, you mentioned we're going to compile a list of things. I will do that with you after this episode. If you're interested in getting our list of self-care that you can work on for 2021, hit me up, rob@baconsports.com. Shoot me an email and just say, hey, I want that list. We'll take the time to put it together for you so that we can help you out on your journey.